What's up, guys? Joel from ModafinilExpert.com, and our Modafinil FAQ continues. Question for today is Modafinil addictive? In other words, do I have to worry, or do you have to worry, about getting physically and psychologically addicted to modafinil through long-term use or even short-term use? And before I go really into that, I want to talk a little bit about the structure of modafinil and why this really shouldn't be an issue to worry about at all. So, modafinil is basically a nootropic. That is its drug classification. Compared to the other hardcore prescription drugs that doctors usually prescribe for ADHD, Vyvanse, Adderall, Ritalin, these are the drugs that doctors commonly prescribe. For people who can't focus, they want to get shit done, these are like the go-to drugs. And as we all know, Adderall and Ritalin and those drugs fall into the classification of amphetamines. Like methamphetamines, not quite, but they do fall into that category. And like all other amphetamines, these drugs have a very high potential for addiction, dependency, and build a tolerance really fast. Modafinil, that's not the case. It is a nootropic, and its chemical profile is in such a way that even through long-term use and abuse, I use the word abuse lightly because, when I started, I abused it for a while. I would take it days at a time. I wouldn't give myself breaks. I didn't follow really any of the procedures that I have written out on my site. I was using it pretty much every day, and over time I did build up a tolerance to it, and it wasn't working as well for me, but I was never addicted to it per se. And when I say addicted, I'm talking about physical addiction that's combined with withdrawal. After I stopped taking modafinil for a while, I went through my washout period, and I had a more regular dosing schedule. I noticed that I never really went through any kind of withdrawal that's normally associated with, amphetamine use. I never did. Sure, it sucked that I wasn't getting as much done. It sucked that my focus wasn't as great. But I never went through any sort of physical, symptoms like I never got sick. I never felt like I had to have it right then and there. I could go weeks at a time without having it. I didn't have any kind of hardcore issues like that. And as far as the people I've talked to, my friends, other people who've used modafinil, they haven't had any kind of issue like that either. Now, if you read up on the internet, if you go on Reddit or any other websites, you might read up reports of people taking insanely high doses, upwards of 1,000 milligrams, 2,000 milligrams a day. And, over time, when they do come off it, they do go through very real withdrawal symptoms. But that is caused by reckless, just plain stupid, use. It's just common sense. If you take that much of any drug, if you take too much caffeine, if you're going to take 1,000 milligrams or 2,000 milligrams of caffeine and drink 5 energy drinks a day, well, yeah, when you come off of it, you're going to have some kind of withdrawal symptoms. But if you use modafinil, the way it's meant to be used, take 200 milligrams a day, even if you're doing it every day, when you come off of it, you're not going to have these kinds of any sort of withdrawal symptoms whatsoever. It's just not going to happen. Now, psychologically, I will say it can be, I wouldn't call it addictive, but once you get used to operating in a certain state of mind, once you get used to being super productive when you're on it, because it does work, obviously, once you're used to that way of operating, it can be frustrating when you're not on it. And even to this day, like, I do experience that. Like, I talk about how over time I use it, I built a work ethic on it, and it's helped me so much. But even today, on the days that I'm not using modafinil, there is a very real difference that I feel, and I miss it. I miss the focus, I miss the crystal clear, no brain fog, no bullshit. I can sit down and just go at it for hours and hours and hours, whereas I can't when I'm not on the drug. And so in that sense, you could argue it is a little bit psychologically addictive. Addictive is the wrong word, I'd say. Because there's no withdrawal symptoms whatsoever. You just miss the feeling. So, in short, should you be realistically worried about developing any sort of addiction or going through any sort of withdrawal from modafinil use? The answer is no. Use it responsibly. Use it with the proper dosing schedule. I always recommend 3 days a week, 200 milligrams each day. Avoid consecutive, like, back-to-back days. But even if you do that, if you stick to 3-4 days a week, you have nothing to worry about. So that's all I have for you today, and we will continue the FAQ in our next video. See you around.